What's up, everybody? So today we are going to officially dive into part one of the series Understanding Covenant. Yesterday was just an intro, and we talked about the covenant that God had with Noah. And this is why God allows wickedness to happen, because back in the Old Testament days, when something happened, God would just get rid of people. But because of the covenant that God made with Noah, God said that he's not going to flood the earth again due to wickedness. It's going to be fire, but God has given, everybody time to get to know Jesus and stuff like that. But sure enough, God will come back, and God is going to destroy the earth in fire whenever he officially comes back for the second coming. But just a little brief summary of the series. We're going to talk about who initiates the covenant in the Bible. Is it important who initiates the covenant? We're going to talk about what's the difference between a covenant and a contract. We're going to talk about are we grandfathered into the covenant and stuff like that. But let's get started, okay? Because this actually blew my mind when I was studying for this, right? Because I know a lot of us, we think that Adam and Eve was the first covenant that God made, when actually it wasn't, okay? Adam and Eve, that was a contract. And I'm going to read Genesis 2:15-17. It says, "Then the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden you may freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you should not eat. For in that day you eat of it, you shall surely die." So this is a contract, right? So think about if you rented a house, right? Let's say you rented a house. The contract is going to state, hey, every first of the month you have rent. And if you don't pay the rent by the third, then you're going to get a late fee, or just another contract, any other contract you can think of. So this is the contract. God says, if you eat of this tree that I told you not to eat, then in that day you will surely die, right? So God put Adam and Eve in the garden, and they can stay in the garden, but these are the rules. Whenever they broke that contract, God kicked them out of the garden, okay? God kicked them out of the garden, and then after they kicked them out of the garden, they surely died. Spiritual death, separation from God, right? So the first contract that God made, the first covenant God made was not with Adam and Eve, it was with Noah, right? And that's why we get the rainbow. So that was the first covenant. Now let's talk, because I talked briefly about that. So now let's talk about the second covenant. The second covenant that God made is with Abram, okay? Abram couldn't have kids, and long story short, God made a covenant with him, and God said, look up in the sky, count the stars, and this is going to be your seed. And God changed his name from Abram to Abraham. And when God changed his name, then he changed the meaning of his name. His name went from exalted father to father of a multitude, okay? Genesis 17 is kind of where God talks about this covenant that God made with Abraham. And God initiated the covenant that he made with Abraham, okay? And a token of the covenant was circumcision, right? And God said, God made an everlasting covenant with Abraham and his offspring, right? And all of the nations of the earth will be blessed in him, right? And that's Genesis 18:18. So you can read from Genesis 17 to Genesis 18 to kind of get a better idea of this covenant that God made with Abraham, right? But the mind-blowing thing about this covenant, it was circumcision, and God made the covenant with Abraham, okay? And he said, remember, he said, I'm going to make this covenant with you and your offspring. So Abraham's son was Isaac, right? And then Isaac's son was Jacob. Jacob was later called Israel, and that's how we get the children of Israel. And that's why God do not play about the children of Israel, and it all goes back to that covenant that he made with Abraham, okay? Bro, it is going to get deep. So that is the end of the first episode, first series. Follow for more for part 2, because it gets deep.